The night I discovered my husband was cheating, I expected the other woman to be a stranger, a coworker, a random woman from a bar, someone I had never met before. What I didn't expect was to recognize the voice, because the woman in my bedroom that night was my sister. And instead of confronting them, I closed the door quietly, went downstairs, poured myself a glass of wine, and made a decision. I wouldn't destroy them. I would let them destroy each other. My name is Hannah. For most of my life, my younger sister Olivia had been the center of attention. She was the charismatic one, the charming one, the one people always noticed first. Growing up, teachers adored her. Friends followed her everywhere. Even family gatherings somehow revolved around her. I wasn't invisible, but compared to Olivia, I was quieter, more careful, more practical. Our parents used to joke that we balanced each other. Olivia brought excitement into every room, and I brought stability. Looking back now, I realize something. People like Olivia don't just enjoy attention, they depend on it. And sometimes, they're willing to take it from anyone, even family. My husband's name was Jason. We met when I was 27. He was funny, confident, the kind of person who could turn awkward silence into laughter. For the first few years of our marriage, things felt easy. We bought a house, adopted a dog, started talking about having kids someday. Jason fit into my family naturally. My parents liked him. And Olivia adored him. At the time, I thought that was a good thing. She invited us to dinners, texted Jason jokes, sent him memes, the normal kind of casual friendliness that happens in families, or at least, that's what I believed. The first real warning sign came during my 30th birthday party. We were hosting it in our backyard. Friends, family, music, drinks. At one point, I walked into the kitchen to grab more ice, and I saw something strange. Jason and Olivia were standing very close together, laughing about something. When they noticed me, they stepped apart quickly, too quickly. But when I asked what they were talking about, Jason smiled. Just an old college story. And Olivia laughed, the same effortless laugh she used with everyone. At the time, I ignored it, because suspicion requires evidence, and back then, I had none. But the moment everything changed came almost a year later. It was a Thursday night. Late. Jason told me he would be working late, some emergency meeting at the office. I believed him. So I went to bed early, around 10, but sometime around midnight. I woke up. The house felt strange, too quiet. Jason still wasn't home, which wasn't unusual, but something made me get out of bed anyway. I walked downstairs, checked the living room, the kitchen, the back door. Everything looked normal. Then I noticed something small. Jason's car keys, sitting on the counter, which meant one thing: he was home. But if Jason was home, why hadn't he come upstairs? That's when I heard the sound, a quiet laugh, coming from the guest bedroom. For a moment, my brain refused to process it, because the guest room was supposed to be empty. But the laugh came again. Soft, familiar, too familiar. I walked down the hallway slowly, each step heavier than the last. The door to the guest bedroom was slightly open, just enough to see inside, and through that small gap, I saw them, Jason and Olivia, my husband, and my sister, in my house, in the middle of the night. For a moment, the world felt completely silent. No shouting, no confrontation, no dramatic scene. Just the quiet realization that the two people I trusted most had betrayed me together. Jason said something. Olivia laughed again. And suddenly, something inside me became very calm, because rage can be loud, but clarity is quiet. I didn't open the door. I didn't confront them. Instead, I stepped back into the hallway, walked downstairs, and poured myself a glass of wine. Because if there's one thing people like Jason and Olivia have in common, it's ego. They believed they were smarter than everyone else, better at hiding things, better at controlling the story. But they had made one very big mistake. They had chosen each other, and people like that always destroy each other eventually. All I had to do was let them. Once you discover a betrayal, you start noticing things you ignored before. Small details, moments that once felt meaningless, conversations that suddenly make perfect sense. For the first few days after that night, I acted exactly the same. I didn't accuse Jason. I didn't confront Olivia. I didn't even mention the guest room. Because people who believe they are getting away with something become careless, and I needed them to stay careless. The first change appeared in Jason's schedule. He suddenly started working late more often, 2 nights a week, sometimes 3. But I had already seen his car keys on the counter that night, which meant something very simple. Jason wasn't leaving the house. He was staying here, with Olivia, 3 days after discovering them. I tested my theory. I have to travel for work tomorrow, I told Jason during dinner, a client meeting out of town. He tried to hide it, but I saw the flash of excitement in his eyes. "Oh," he said casually. "How long?" "Just overnight." Jason nodded, trying to look neutral, trying not to look happy. The next evening, I packed a suitcase, drove away from the house, and parked 2 streets over. An hour later, Olivia's car arrived. She walked to the front door confidently, like someone who had done this many times before. Jason opened the door before she even knocked, and they kissed, right there on the front porch, in plain view of the street. I sat in the car watching, and for a moment, the anger returned. Hot, sharp, immediate. But anger fades quickly when you remember something important. This situation wasn't temporary. This wasn't a single mistake. This was a relationship. Olivia came back to the house 2 nights later, then again the following week, then again after that. They weren't even careful anymore, which told me something interesting. Olivia believed Jason was serious about her, and Jason believed he could have both. That illusion lasted about 3 weeks, until I overheard a conversation that changed everything. It happened on a Sunday afternoon. Jason was outside on the patio talking on the phone. He thought I was upstairs, but I had walked down the hallway quietly, just close enough to hear. Olivia's voice came through the speaker. "So, when are you telling her?" Jason paused. "Telling who?" "Don't play dumb," Olivia said. "Hannah." Silence. Then Jason sighed. "It's complicated." Olivia sounded irritated. "It's been complicated for months." "I know. You said you were unhappy." "I am." "Then why are you still there?" Jason rubbed his forehead. I could see it through the patio window. "Because divorce isn't simple," he said. Olivia laughed, but it wasn't friendly. "No," she replied. "What's not simple is choosing." Jason didn't respond. "Jason," Olivia continued, "you promised me this wasn't temporary." There was a long pause. Then Jason said something that made everything suddenly clear. "I just need more time." Those 5 words revealed the entire situation. Jason wasn't planning to leave me. He was delaying, avoiding, hoping the problem would somehow solve itself. But Olivia wasn't the patient type. She wanted attention, validation, commitment. And people like Olivia don't tolerate uncertainty for long, which meant something inevitable was coming. Sooner or later, she would push harder. And when that moment arrived, Jason would panic. And when Jason panicked, he would start lying. Not just to me, to her, which was exactly what I needed. Because the moment they stopped trusting each other, the entire relationship would begin to collapse. And the best part? I wouldn't have to do anything. All I had to do was wait. Because when two selfish people start fighting over the same secret, they rarely keep it hidden for long. Affairs feel exciting at the beginning. Secret messages, late-night meetings, the thrill of believing no one else knows. But excitement doesn't last forever. Sooner or later, reality arrives, and reality demands decisions. 3 weeks after I overheard their conversation on the patio, Olivia started pushing Jason harder. I didn't need to spy to know it. The tension between them was obvious. Jason was nervous all the time, checking his phone constantly, walking into another room to take calls, sometimes stepping outside just to text, which meant Olivia had stopped being patient. One evening, I walked into the kitchen unexpectedly. Jason was standing by the counter texting. When he saw me, he flipped the phone screen down immediately. That tiny movement told me everything. "Who's texting?" I asked casually. "Work," he replied instantly. Of course, work again. But the interesting part wasn't Jason's lie. It was the message that arrived 10 seconds later. His phone buzzed loudly on the counter. Jason froze. Then the screen lit up, and Olivia's name appeared. "You said you'd talk to her today." Jason grabbed the phone quickly, but the message had already been visible long enough. I pretended not to notice. "Long day?" I asked. "Yeah," he said quickly. "Lots of problems at work." Apparently his problems were becoming harder to manage because 2 nights later, the first real argument happened. I heard it through the living room window. Jason had stepped outside again to take a call, but Olivia wasn't whispering anymore. "I'm tired of waiting," she said. Jason looked toward the house nervously. "Lower your voice." "No. You promised me you'd tell her." I said I would. "When?" Jason hesitated. "I just need more time." Olivia laughed again. That sharp, impatient laugh I knew so well from childhood. "You always need more time." "That's not fair." "What's not fair," Olivia replied, "is pretending this is temporary." Jason rubbed his temples, clearly overwhelmed. "I can't just destroy my marriage overnight." Olivia's voice turned colder. "Then maybe it's not as broken as you told me." Jason didn't respond, and that silence revealed something dangerous. Doubt. Olivia noticed it immediately. "Oh my God," she said slowly. "You're not actually going to leave her, are you?" Jason looked toward the house again, toward the life he was trying to keep. "I didn't say that." "You didn't say you would, either." Another long silence. Then Olivia said the one thing that changes every affair. "Maybe I should just tell her." Jason's head snapped up. "You wouldn't?" "Why not?" "Because that would destroy everything." Olivia crossed her arms. "Exactly." And that was the moment their relationship changed. Because now, they weren't just hiding a secret together. They were holding it against each other, which is the beginning of the end for every affair. That night, Jason came back inside looking exhausted. "What happened?" I asked softly. "Nothing," he replied. But the words sounded hollow, because the truth was obvious now. Jason had created a situation he couldn't control anymore. Olivia wanted commitment. Jason wanted convenience. And when those two desires collide, someone always gets desperate, which meant the collapse of their relationship had already begun. And when it finally exploded, they would be too busy blaming each other to notice I had been watching the entire time. Once trust disappears from an affair, everything changes. The secrecy that once felt exciting starts to feel dangerous. Every message becomes suspicious. Every silence becomes threatening. And every promise starts to sound like a lie. By the 4th week, Jason looked exhausted. The confidence he once had when sneaking around was gone. Now he looked nervous, constantly checking his phone, constantly worried someone might hear something. Because Olivia had stopped being patient. One night I heard another argument through the patio door. This time, it was worse. "You lied to me," Olivia said. Jason looked confused. "What are you talking about? You said your marriage was basically over." "It is." "Then why are you still living with her?" Jason exhaled slowly, trying to stay calm. "I told you, divorce takes time." Olivia shook her head. "No." "Then what?" Jason snapped. Olivia stepped closer, her voice sharp. "You're still sleeping with her, aren't you?" Jason stared at her in disbelief. "That's ridiculous." "Is it?" Jason hesitated, and that hesitation was all Olivia needed. "Oh my God," she said quietly. "You are." Jason ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. "I'm trying to handle this responsibly." "Responsibly?" Olivia laughed. "You're cheating on both of us." Jason's patience finally snapped. "You're the one who pushed this." "I pushed this?" Olivia repeated. "Yes. You flirted with me for months." Olivia's eyes widened. "You flirted back." Jason looked toward the house nervously. This was supposed to be temporary. The moment he said that, everything changed, because Olivia froze. Temporary? Jason realized immediately he had said the wrong thing, but it was too late. "That's what this is to you?" Olivia asked. Jason didn't answer, which confirmed everything. The silence stretched for several seconds. Then Olivia said something very quiet, very dangerous. "I gave up everything for this." Jason looked confused. "What do you mean?" "I turned down a job in another city." Jason blinked. "You never told me that." "Because you told me you were leaving her." Another mistake. Another promise Jason had never planned to keep. Olivia stared at him for a long moment. Then her voice changed completely. Cold. "You used me." Jason shook his head. "No, I didn't." "You did." Then Olivia said the one sentence that confirmed the affair was already collapsing. "I should tell Hannah." Jason's expression changed instantly. "You wouldn't do that." "Why not?" Jason stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Because if Hannah finds out," he said slowly, "you lose everything too." Olivia frowned. "What does that mean?" Jason sighed, and in that moment, he made the worst mistake of the entire affair. "You think she'll forgive you?" Olivia's expression hardened. "She's your sister." "Exactly." Jason shrugged. "And she hates betrayal." The implication hung in the air between them. Olivia suddenly realized something terrifying. If the truth came out, she wouldn't just lose Jason, she would lose her entire family. And that realization planted a seed of fear, which meant the dynamic between them had officially changed. They were no longer partners. They were liabilities to each other. And once that happens, people start protecting themselves, even if it means destroying the other person first, from the living room window. I watched Jason walk back inside the house alone. Olivia drove away 10 minutes later, and for the first time since the affair began, neither of them looked confident anymore, because the relationship that had started with excitement was now held together by fear, and fear makes people do reckless things, which meant the ending of this story was getting closer. I didn't have to expose them. I didn't have to confront them. I didn't have to do anything at all. All I had to do was wait for them to destroy each other. Affairs rarely end quietly. They don't fade away like people hope. They explode, usually because someone stops feeling safe or someone stops feeling special. And Olivia was starting to feel both. 3 days after their last argument, she came to the house unannounced, not at night, not secretly. In the middle of the afternoon, Jason was still at work, which meant the person who opened the door, was me. For a moment, Olivia looked surprised to see me, almost like she had expected someone else. "Hannah," she said slowly. "Olivia." We stood there in the doorway, both of us pretending something was normal when it clearly wasn't. "I was in the neighborhood," she said. "That was a lie." We both knew it. "Come in," I said calmly. She hesitated, but eventually stepped inside. Olivia sat on the couch, restless, looking around the room like she was searching for something, or maybe searching for courage. "I need to ask you something," she said. "Okay. Are you happy with Jason?" The question hung in the air, carefully chosen, carefully worded. I shrugged lightly. "Why do you ask?" Olivia looked at the floor, then back at me. "Because sometimes people stay in relationships that are already over. Interesting." "And sometimes," I replied, "people destroy relationships that were perfectly fine." Olivia flinched slightly. "Do you think Jason would ever cheat on you?" she asked suddenly. There it was, the real question. I looked at her quietly. "Why would you ask that?" Olivia opened her mouth to answer, then stopped, because in that moment, her phone buzzed. She glanced at the screen and her entire expression changed. Anger, shock, disbelief. "Is everything okay?" I asked. Olivia didn't answer. She stood up, pacing, reading the message again. "What is it?" I asked gently. Olivia finally spoke, but her voice sounded different now, cold. "Jason told me he was working late tonight." I tilted my head slightly. "And?" She held up the phone. "Apparently he's having dinner with someone else." The message was from a mutual friend. A photo, Jason sitting in a restaurant across from another woman. For a moment, the room was completely silent. Then Olivia laughed, but there was nothing amused about the sound. "He's cheating on both of us." I watched her carefully. "That must feel terrible," I said. Olivia looked at me sharply, almost suspicious. "Did you know about this?" "No," I replied calmly. Olivia paced across the room again, faster now, more agitated. "He told me I was the only one. Of course he did. He said he was going to leave you." I nodded slightly. "And now he's having dinner with someone else?" Olivia's voice cracked slightly. I ruined everything for him. There it was, the realization she had been avoiding. If Jason was lying to her too, then she had destroyed her relationship with me. For nothing. And that realization made her furious. "I'm going to confront him," she said. "That sounds like a good idea," I replied softly. Olivia grabbed her bag, stormed toward the door, then stopped suddenly. She turned back to me. "Hannah." "Yes?" "If Jason tells you anything about me," she said slowly, "you should know he's lying." I smiled faintly. "I'll keep that in mind." Olivia left the house 5 seconds later, slamming the door behind her, and as I watched her car disappear down the street, I realized something. The collapse had already begun. Jason thought he was juggling 2 secrets, but now those secrets had started talking to each other, and when that happens, someone always panics, someone always confesses, someone always tries to save themselves, which meant the final stage of this story was about to begin. And the best part? I still hadn't said a single word about the affair. I didn't need to. Jason and Olivia were already doing all the damage themselves. The confrontation happened that same night. I didn't go to the restaurant. I didn't need to. Because Olivia made sure the entire story reached me anyway. Around 9 that evening, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Hannah," she said immediately, "what is going on?" Her voice sounded confused, shocked, and slightly panicked. "Why?" I asked calmly. "Your sister just called us." "Interesting. What did she say?" She said Jason has been cheating on you. I leaned back on the couch, exactly where I expected the story to go. With her, my mother added quietly. There it was. Apparently, the confrontation at the restaurant had not gone well. Olivia had arrived furious. Jason had tried to deny everything, then blame someone else, then finally panic. And when people panic, they say things they shouldn't. Jason apparently told Olivia something fascinating. That affair meant nothing. To Olivia, those 4 words were devastating because she had believed something completely different. She had believed she was the reason Jason was leaving his marriage. She had believed she was the future, the replacement, the next chapter. Instead, she had been the secret. And nothing destroys someone's pride faster than realizing they were never special. So Olivia did what people like her always do when they feel humiliated. She tried to regain control of the story. She called our parents and told them everything. The affair, the secret meetings, the lies, all of it. My mother was still talking on the phone, still trying to understand. Hannah, is this true? Yes, I said quietly. There was a long pause. And you knew? Yes. When did you find out? A few weeks ago. Another silence. Why didn't you tell us? My mother asked. I looked toward the window, watching the streetlights outside, because they were already destroying each other. And that was the truth. Jason had tried to minimize the affair. Olivia had exposed it completely. Then Jason tried to protect himself by telling our parents Olivia had seduced him, which made Olivia furious. So she revealed every message, every meeting, every promise Jason had made. Within 24 hours, both of them had turned against each other. Jason lost the only defense he had. Olivia lost the attention she had been chasing, and both of them lost the one thing they had originally tried to protect, their image. The next day, Jason came home, looking exhausted, defeated. We need to talk, he said. I nodded. Okay. Jason sat down across from me, silent for a moment, then finally spoke. Olivia told your parents everything. I know. He looked surprised. You knew she would do that? Yes. Jason shook his head slowly, still trying to understand. You planned this? No, I said calmly. I just waited. Jason stared at me for a long moment, then asked the question that had clearly been bothering him. Why didn't you expose us yourself? I shrugged slightly. Because it was more interesting this way. Jason frowned. What do you mean? I leaned forward slightly. If I had exposed you, you would have blamed me. You would have said I misunderstood something. You would have called Olivia a liar. You would have tried to protect yourself. Jason didn't respond because he knew that was exactly what he would have done. But when you two turned on each other, I continued, the truth became impossible to hide. Jason looked down at the floor, finally understanding. You let us destroy each other. Yes. And the strangest part? I never raised my voice. I never confronted them. I never created a scene. All I did was step aside and let their own lies collide. Because sometimes the most satisfying revenge isn't attacking someone. It's simply giving them enough space to ruin themselves.